Welcome everybody, I'm back in the studio with none other than the Robert G. Allen, author of Nothing Down and Multiple Streams. And today we're going to ask him about his 3 worst real estate
Oh my
deals.
gosh. Of course, I've never made a mistake in real estate. Never. Actually, the very first deal that I bought, I mentioned in a previous call that there was my first deal where I made some money, but actually the truth was I bought a property. I got sold a bill of goods. Since I was a beginner at the beginning of my career and never had done any real estate, read a couple of books on it, but nothing having. So the guy goes to me, it's a vacant piece of property. It's out in the country. It looks nice. No, he split it up into little pieces of property to buy. It was 100 feet wide. Get this, 100 feet wide, right along the road. So that's good. And 1,365 feet deep.
Whoa.
So imagine that. That's a little narrow strip of land, frankly. 1,300 feet deep. So this is what he sold me. He said it's like perfect for a little airline pilot to put a little strip there behind his house or her house and land his little plane behind there and putt up to the back of the house and get out and have dinner with the family. And I just thought, well, what a great idea. And I never did any research. I never thought, what are the rules about landing a plane? Could you have a runway? What would the neighbors think? I was such an idiot. And of course, I sold it. I became what I'm trying to teach you how to find, which is a don't wanter. I didn't want this property because I realized nobody wanted it. I couldn't sell it. So I had to sell it at a loss. And I walked away with a loss that, it wasn't fun, to tell you the truth. What I learned from that experience, I could have quit and said, oh, this is not for me. I learned that, hey, maybe I just do a little more research next time. Maybe I'll be a little smarter next time. My second bad deal was a beautiful property in the middle of the forest on a ski slope. Sundance Ski Resort in Utah, owned by Robert Redford, had lots for sale. They had been kept off the market for decades. And they released these lots, and we had to have one. And we put a lot of cash, and we paid cash for it. So we built a beautiful mountain home on it, worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. We dumped all my royalties and all my investment money. We just dumped it all in there. Well, it was on an avalanche plane.
Oh no.
They were shooting the avalanches down because it had snowed 40 inches that day. And on the 13th of February, I'll never forget the day, by the way, 13th of February, 1986. So that was a few years ago. There was an avalanche, and the avalanche came down and went right through my cabin. Just completely trashed it. Are you going to buy a cabin that has been in the path of an avalanche? No, the property is worthless now. It's worthless. And then the insurance company won't pay because there's a little clause in there saying it's
too high risk.
Yeah, it was too. Anyway, they found a clause. The insurance company found a clause. They wouldn't pay. So why was that a bad deal? Well, the bad deal was. How would you know? How would you know that it was an avalanche? So I probably did some research on it, but the insurance company really pulled a dirty one. They really did, and it took many years to sue the company, the insurance company, finally get some money. But by this time, the damage had been done, and a bankruptcy ensued. We lost everything. We had to start from scratch. But when I look at that loss, it wasn't a bad thing to me. Maybe to my family, maybe my wife is not happy about it. For me personally, though, it drove me to my knees. When you get a lot of money, it starts to go to your head. It's very dangerous. Money is a drug, and it's dangerous. You start to think like you are God, that you can do anything. And frankly, in a spiritual sense, when the protection was taken away and that cabin was destroyed and the bank called a loan and I couldn't pay it and it ended up in bankruptcy, it was the most humbling experience of my entire life. And I thank God for that avalanche these days. I thank God, because it really woke me up. I thought I was in control, but you're really not in control. Being in control is an illusion. You have to literally sometimes just surrender. And this taught me how to surrender. And then I had to make all the money back. And I did. I made it all back. Lost maybe $10 million as a result of that stupid avalanche. But I made it back the right way this time. I gave credit where credit was due. Yes, do I believe in a higher power? Absolutely. Absolutely. Am I happy for that avalanche? Well, yes and no. The yes is it drove me to my knees and caused me to be reminded that, it's like the farmer, I've told this before, but the farmer that's out in his field and a preacher drives by and he looks at the farmer in this beautiful field of growing, flowing grain. And he stops to the farmer and he says, "That's a fine crop you and the Lord here have together." And the crusty old farmer said, "Well, you should have seen it when the Lord had it all by himself." Well, what would happen if there was a tornado that came through? The farmer thought he was in control, but he didn't control the most important things. He didn't make the seed. He didn't make the soil. He didn't make the sun. He didn't do all the important things that made that crop grow. He was really only 1%, maybe 1/millionth of 1% of what he actually really controlled. Whereas 99.999 to the millionth degree was controlled by things that were out of his control. And therefore, what I want you to learn from that failure of mine was just to be grateful for everything you have. And don't let it go to your head, because money is a drug, as I said. And luckily, that one got knocked out of me big time.
That's awesome. And there's a couple interesting things that you can learn from that. One is, you said you paid a lot in cash, right?
Yeah.
So you had no leverage. Another one was, it was a high risk area. You didn't do no research, but you needed more research, right? And then another one, and this is just a testament to how good of an investor and a person you are, is you remained optimistic throughout the whole time. And whether it's, in investing or in your relationships or whatever area in life, like that optimism is, I guess, what ultimately makes you.
No, it's not optimism. It's stubbornness. It's just like, I got to get it back. As Churchill would say, never give in, never give in, never, 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 never in nothing, great or small. Never give in, except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy. So that was just in my soul. I was not going to give in. However, later on, I should have given in. They say in cards, there's a time when to hold them and a time when to fold them. And sometimes being too stubborn, and I was for, a period of time in there when you're just too stubborn, I had to finally give in, That was when the bankruptcy happened, and it was the hardest dang thing I've ever experienced. It was the most humiliating, horrific thing. Yet happens a couple of million times a year, so I'm not the only person that ever had that happen, but I finally did give in. And I wish I'd given in about a year earlier, to tell you the truth. Yeah. But what was powerful about it was I dug myself out. Eventually, I finally had to, get back to ground zero, and then onward to the next bad deal.
Yeah.
We got one more bad deal.
One more, what you got?
And this is where I would strongly recommend that you don't spend the money that you make it's so hard not to. When you start making big money, it's so easy to spend it on, this watch, it's $300. But I got watches at home that are $10,000, $20,000. In other words, this watch is nothing. Whenever you make more money, you enter a new level of what you could buy with it. Cars, I can buy a $10,000 car. I can buy a $100,000 car. Watches, I can, clothing, everything has increasing costs as you buy. And so as soon as you start making money, you start believing that this is the way it's always going to be. And you can't play that game because this economy will always go up and down. And there will be times when you will have a sudden storm and get wiped out. And so you need to have some liquid cash that you hold on to. You got to be careful with it. Don't look rich until you're so rich that spending another $100,000, $200,000 is no big deal. But obviously we were making serious big money, and then we decided, let's build the dream house. It's 12,000 square feet in California, in Rancho Santa Fe, and it's beautiful. It's magnificent. It's also extremely expensive to maintain, So you got a multi-million dollar home. It cost us $7 million just to build it.
Dang.
Let alone.
And this was in what year?
This was in 2011.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, and then we sold it in 2000. And in 2018. So we lived in it, we had a wonderful time. It was great memories. But when you get into the big properties, rich people, they want to build their own home. They want their own dream. They don't want your dream. They'll walk through your house and go, I don't like that, don't like that, let's just build our own, right? So it's hard to sell these bigger properties. So that was something I would, if I could do it all over again,
yeah,
I probably would have stayed in the original home and had $8 million in cash.
And did you sell for a loss?
I sold for a loss, yeah. But, you can always turn a loss into a win. So we moved out and rented it out. So now it becomes a business asset. Mm. So now if I sell it below what my cost is, I have a business loss, and it's immediate. Therefore, I'm not paying taxes now for, several years in the future. Yeah. No taxes. So you can always turn a negative into a positive, but those are my three big problems. But lots of good ones along the way, but a few bad ones.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. I know this is pretty personal stuff, so I really appreciate it. And the lessons are invaluable.
Don't you tell anybody what I just shared. No, don't.
Don't tell anybody except for the millions of people on the internet.
But for those 7 years, I tell you, the home we lived in was, it was our, what do you call that a bucket list. Yeah. We had it. We had the bucket list. We have been in the most magnificent home you can imagine. We got lots of good pictures.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, thanks for watching, guys. And we hope you enjoyed it and learned something new.